¿Quién es el perfume de una dama en flor?
Most family members to assist, we did it today. Greetings, bienvenidos. I guess everybody met the family from Guatemala, so I'm not going to go through the introduction. Anyway, Mamaita, with the word of Mujer by Agustin Lara, a song dedicated to a very special woman, as you know, applicable to you. Then followed Tengo ganas de un beso. I'm in the mood for a kiss. Even if after it, I shall die. You filled many hearts. Thank you for it. How I long for you. How much I owe you. How beautiful experiences, how sweet sufferings. What blessings and what moments, all these learned lessons. How I love each day, how I wake up to harmony. How each moment is a sincere offering that God desires. Thought of me as if I was your only project. The last line, you thought of me as if I was your only project, directed to our Lord. Mom, you have lived a full life. You have illuminated many people's lives. You raised a pretty good family. And you have spread love. Everywhere you go, with gusto. And that brings me to my next short poem, in whose we are saddened if we don't reach sunrise. How beautiful is life, full of adventures and challenges, uproar, problems, tasteless moments, and even disenchantments. But I prefer to live, and sometimes even suffer, than not to enjoy life. And with no doubt, the Lord guided you to them. We would not be here, and most of all, we would not have enjoyed for all these years and more to come the immense blessing of having you by us in the world of this world of trials, challenges. And here is my last translated thought going. Vamos. Whatever we don't see is the will, the wisdom, and the love that we don't know, but we feel. That we feel and don't embrace. So, if we accept His life in us, we live.
Thank you. Okay, time for, what do you know about Grandma? Okay. So you guys mark, you guys, Blanca Olga. No, it's C.
What?
It's Blanca Olga. C, Mom, is Blanca, is Olga Rascalita. Now, those of you who knew the answer to this, don't answer. Those of you, well, if you knew, I guess you. Okay, what is it? Elena. Okay.
And we named our Nicole's middle name is Elena.
Oh. What?
Antonio.
Okay. 1 point for each name. You get 2 points. Think about becoming a doctor? Oh, of course, oh my God. Okay, how about what else?
A nun.
Not a nut.
What is the right answer?
Both of those are the right answers.
Oh, okay, both.
Doctor and none. Yeah.
How about none of the above?
Alright,
What? A rabbit. What was the rabbit's name, Mom? Tyler Power was a gorgeous actor. That was the name of her rabbit.
do you get extra credit if you know the rabbit's name?
Did you write it down? Yes.
You do it?
Okay, one animal, and there could be more than one answer. What animal does Grandma hate the most? Flies.
Dog.
Flies. She says flies. Let's give her flies. Cat.
Spider.
Oh, cockroach.
Cockroach. Cockroach.
Snakes.
Dog.
Spider.
I guess it's spider people, they are bound.
All right.
What about
She gets
animals, though?
credit for all 4 of those. She really does hate all 4 of those.
But you know,
Okay.
that's the one that tell the story about
All
animals.
right, I'll tell the animal story. My kids, Grandma, and she came when I was babysitting and played charades with my kids. My kids were little, like your kids, Marisa. And so a few nights later, we're playing charades as a family. Grandma's not there. And one thing that Paul was doing, you were maybe 4, he was doing this. And we all said, elephant, elephant. He said, no, and we couldn't figure it out. He finally said, it's an animal. He thought that was a special kind of animal because she called it an animal. He didn't know it wasn't a particular kind of animal. Oofa.
Can you say useless if we don't have Spanish word?
Yes, useless. We hear that a lot.
I said, can you imagine Bill, so witty, joined it. And he invited us to go bowling and put everybody's name for bowling. And then I said, what can you imagine? What can you imagine that? Well, and that was the name.
That was her name.
My name was
Can you imagine? Can you imagine?
And the bowling. That's the way my history.
Okay, any other expressions? Where did Grandma live when she was 3 years old? Anyone know? How did you know? How did you know that, Summer? Because I read the book. What? Oh, I made a little children's version. Okay, right, yes. El Salvador, read my book. El Salvador.
That's her age. You know, that's
Remember that even the dress I was wearing.
She remembers this picture being taken in the swamp.
la chita.
In El Salvador.
OFE nació en El Salvador. La chita
Okay,
también.
name as
Las dos.
many. Now, those who live in Guatemala, I'm going to let the ones who don't live in Guatemala try to answer this first. Name as many as you can of Grandma's siblings. Raise your hand if you have one. Mario. All know one.
Mario.
Mario.
Yes, your grandpa.
Ofe. Who thinks they can name all of Grandma's children in correct order? Let me see who I'm going to pick some. Who am I going to pick? Right here. Let me pick here. Somebody who I think. It's all the only ones who know. Okay, I'm going to let Jeanette try.
That doesn't seem like a hard question. Did anybody not know that?
Of course. Michael didn't know that. Victor, did you not know that?
I hesitated. You like Ron and Ron.
Okay.
Well, Ron does Ron lives with him.
Don't believe it, Okay. Always know your body, yes.
No, what did you say? ¿Qué dijo?
Always know your body.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead, say that loud.
Always know your body.
Your body.
Always know your body.
Drink the ice from the airplane.
Don't drink the ice.
In the
Don't get ice in your drink.
Massage your face before you go to bed.
Massage your face before you go to bed.
Massage your face.
Okay, right.
Appreciated in what?
Appreciate it and understand.
Oh, yes.
Something about your mind. Never stop using your mind. Yes? Anything else?
Always do your best.
Always do your best. Very good. You've been listening. Occupational therapy. Occupational therapy. You wrote an answer here.
Bill.
Yeah. That's right. Okay, 18. What does Grandma love to do in her spare time? Raise your hand so I can. There's several things.
Backgammon.
Okay.
That's with the
Play cards. Play cards. Play cards. That's a better one. Cards. Anything else?
Jim Rummy.
Enoch.
She loves to cook. Pinocchio said cards. There's one other thing she absolutely loves. Read. To read, and she can't read anymore, so she listens to books on cassette. And I'm jealous. When I'm 90, I get to listen to all those books.
Vivian, how many books does she go through?
She probably in the 3 years that you've been on this wine service, I would say a couple hundred books.
Wow, 100 books.
I got a couple things from about 40 years ago.
What? No.
Lawrence Welk. Watch Lawrence Welk.
Oh, yes.
And Days of Our Lives.
That was my,
Ellen and Mama used to watch the talk.
In the days of our lives, and it's still going on strong.
Number 8. One other thing that Grandma loves to do.
Loves to talk.
Runs in the family.
That means talk. Okay. Yeah.
But you won't say
What
what?
is it? Yeah, what is
You
that?
say
You say why?
take a little
When
talk.
I talk, I am corrected.
She's correcting us.
What is that? That's playing.
All right. I don't know if any of you will get this right. Okay, how many grandchildren does Grandma have? 24.
24.
Very good. I didn't know you had counted. What is it? 24 grandchildren.
My blood.
Blood grandchildren. Now, how many great grandchildren?
What did I tell you? How did I let you know that it was time to?
Oh,
Oh,
tell me a story.
What is it? Exactly.
That's the point.
Dice mamá.
You learn that let's it's time to go to bed.
French. That's right.
And I something else.
something else, yeah.
Something else I always told you. Never start a project with the conviction that you're going to get through and do your best.
Without that.
Without that.
Never stop just because I have to. No, if you don't put all your intention and do your best, don't even start. Don't waste your time and the time of others. Start something. Do it well.
I remember, I have a memory. Can I take a memory?
Helen and
Helen, that's Helen's mother and her father.
Vivian.
Hold on a second.
Bill.
This is Ofe.
Yeah.
This is my father. This is my father.
Still do.
This is my mom. Oh.
I'm totally innocent.
Oh, she wasn't innocent.
That's Victor.
Victor.
Victor Dad.
Yes, Victor, our brother. Okay.
Yes.
That's the good-looking one.
No, it's guys. It's not Dennis the Menace. It's somebody. Alfalfa. Alfalfa. It's not Alfalfa. That's Bill. You know, we didn't want to forget who he was. We put a name on his shirt. He
He kept getting lost.
kept being lost in the neighborhood.
That doesn't look like that. I want to read one letter. A bright spot in Bob's life. She has lots of bright spots, but the bright spot was when she taught in Guatemala. After she graduated, she started teaching school, and in the private school, never existed private school. That's how special she became.
Just say how many got together.
How many? There's a picture. There's a lot of
31 people got together.
I just want to read a letter. This is by Isabel. I'm excited to participate in this great, well-deserved honor to you. How wonderful to come to be 90. I'll skip a few things. Let's see. You have touched so many lives with your warm, caring, and intellectual achievements, and I am one of the lucky ones that has benefited from knowing you. The first time I met you was in 3rd grade. I was part of the group that you taught for 4 years. It was the time when one needed guidance in learning and thinking, and you were there to give us all that and more. You taught us discipline, responsibility, and gave us encouragement to keep studying and do our best. Sound like Mom? Yeah. Your teaching and influence made us what we are now, and it keeps helping us through our lives. Many times we were surprised how much you knew about each of us and saw the potential we had to do better, and we did. In studying the human body, we learned with actual body parts. And to this day, we remember everything. Now listen to this. I still have in my mind when you asked me to be the first to talk about the brain and told me to hold it in my hands, a real brain. I did not want to do it, and you came and put it in my hands. I was embarrassed. It was a real brain. I realized then that it was the way to see it and feel the texture. We also learned how complicated the spinal cord is. Fantastic experience. On weekends, we went on trips. She did things on the weekends with her students. Visited different factories and were fascinated. Okay, there's a poem when I find it. Bill will read it. Okay, all right.
He doesn't want to read it.
Okay, I think I didn't ask ahead of time. Did anyone want to say anything? Did anybody at this table want to say anything?
I have to tell you something about your mother, your great-grandmother. In those days, back in what year? She had 10 kids, and all 10 of them were professionals. In those days, when girls were not allowed to go to school, remember? And all of them are professionals. Wow. That was really a great day. Vivian, I want to say something about you. When I used to live with you guys, your mom and I went through hell with you because you had all kinds of problems with her kidneys. Olga would say, Helen, please help me. Then I would drive, or I would be on the next seat and you would be with fever in the back seat. Oh, you have no idea how many times you went through that. But Olga, I lived with her for so many years, and she taught me how to be a lady. Everything that I have, I think now, maybe I'm not an old lady now. Now I don't care what I do. She taught me a lot of things. She was like my second mom. And even washing dishes. I remember washing dishes and I said, Helen, what's yours? I swear to you. Instead of going like this, washing dishes, you have to be away from the sink and all of that. It was so fabulous. Remember that? And she was also upset one day. You just turned the whole table because we set it up together, all the kids, all the siblings. And she said, I didn't tell you to do that. They were expecting some people over in Newport Beach, and you got very, very upset because we set it up the wrong way. Oh. I did it, and I literally just pulled a piece off, and she made me a dress, a gown. It was a long gown. Wow. In a matter of 4 or 5 hours, and I had to go to the mall the following day. It was great. Yeah, she was fabulous.
Wow. When you went to the when you dressed up with Van Johnson about
oh yeah, the guy that was in the picture. That was her favorite. And we went to Halloween, and she made me.
Oh, Halloween.
It was Halloween, and I was a card. We were the queen and king, and she actually made the whole deck of cards.
Deck of
In the front and in the back, and she painted it. It was great. It was great. I just thank you for allowing me to be here. I could tell the stories, but I'm going to get all emotional. But she's great. I love her to death, and all of you.
Thank you.
I don't know how to speak English, so I'm going to speak Spanish.
Okay.
Okay? That's okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Tú sabes que después que me metiera a biología y esto, y a mí no me gustaba nada de eso. Vine con Olga, dice, no, venite, y me mete a la mejor universidad que hay en Nueva York, a Columbia University. Ahí me metió. Y ella nunca me dejaba. Tienes que ser grande, y van a empujarme, y Tono y yo pasamos nuestras aventuras de jóvenes, pero ella nos ayudó mucho. Y todavía al final yo estuve pues, en la Universidad de Nueva York, y allá, y conocí a Dick cuando todavía no estaban casando, sino que Dick era muy
Los
amigo.
copió de esposa a ustedes, básicamente.
Sí, Dick se hizo muy amigo mío. Ustedes saben que yo tomo café sin azúcar, porque Dick me lo enseñó. Desde ese entonces tomo café sin azúcar. De todas maneras. ¿Te recuerdas?
Did you guys get that?
Yeah.
En mi español, pero de todas maneras, Olga, qué felicidad, qué hijos, qué familia, qué todo. Eso da vida. Ahí está Dios con uno, con él, con gente, todo. Es maravillosa. Y yo he llorado, se me han salido las lágrimas cada rato con el tránsito, porque te adoro, que sos un ejemplo para todo el mundo.
Ay, Dios.
That's right. We're gonna dance shortly. When I was a teenager, I came to find out that the gospel was true. That Heavenly Father had a son. And all these things are true, but it came so easy for me to believe because I had an example in my life that taught me without ever quitting to be my best in whatever I did, to treat people with respect, to never give up on anybody. Anybody who's ever known my mom for 5 minutes or more, they have suffered or lived through or been pleased by her counseling. She wants you to be the best you can be, and she makes you believe you can be the best you can be. Unbelievable. If you're down and she talks to you, by the time you're done, you believe that you're the most special individual on the planet. And she makes you believe it. People are asking me, how come you're cooking all the meals, Ron? How come you're doing all these things? If you grew up in a house with my mom, it didn't matter if she was sick. She never sat down until everybody was done eating. Growing up, we liked to make crepes. We had cast iron pans. This tiny woman with cast iron pans making these crepes so we would have them. At times, if we didn't have, because we were broke growing up in Newport, and at times where we didn't have a lot, my mom, so sincerely, and you'd believe her, she'd give you her food and say, I'm not hungry, I'm not feeling good. She'd get tired of telling us to please eat with 2 fingers or chicken. Use your napkin. So she would say to me, here son, you need my napkin, I won't be needing. She always had a way to teach you constantly. I revere my mother because she represents to me what life's about. And she never quits. She fights to the end. Just tell her you can't do it. And then you better get out of the way. You shall do it. I love my mother, and I'm looking forward to 10 years with her.
God gives God wisdom to think. And let this bring God to one of us. And they said, what is your secret? Oh, you know what my secret is? It's to have the children I have. They are my inspiration. They don't let me get off. I was already old. I had been the oldest friend in their family. We just go to our friends, feeling one the pain of the other, laughing one to the pleasure of the other. Very easy. If we didn't have, I didn't have jobs because I couldn't find a job everywhere and I went, you are all overqualified.
No, you didn't want to, you wouldn't work. She was a single mother who would not remarry, living in Newport Beach where everybody was rich, because she didn't want to subject her kids to another man. So she suffered through that, but was scared to death to subject her kids to another man. Having friends, Nancy Epson, Buddy Epson's different wealthy
That
people,
was my salvation.
but she could handle it.
I remember going to the house of Korea.
You know who Buddy Epson is? You know the Beverly Hillbillies? The old man?
It was a TV series.
Yeah.
The tapper. And every time we came in, Eddie would go in like he said, he would go like that in his hair, and then he look at him. I just looked at him on television. He said to him, you know, very nice. Very nice. Anyway, everything that you think is good in me has gone
Reflection of my children.
reflection of my children. Because I
And your
see
parents.
well, that made me, but then I start melting when
The heat.
just lapse of the years, you know, that not all was gone. I was sick so many times, and my little kids were the victims. They got taken by this and like that, because I didn't have relatives here until most were far away. And anyway, they grew up with substance. They grew up with a backbone, with their head up, respecting themselves, not thinking that they are a big thing, but thinking that when they have something, the first thing to do is take care of the family and then share it. And all this has been the inspiration. And don't change, because if you change, I die next day. You don't want to.
How about a hand for all home kids here?
Can I say a couple things about my mom?
Okay.
One thing is really good. Okay, the really good thing is that since we were little, my mom taught us to pray. And we never, she told us two interesting things that I believe to this day.
Louder.
But I don't know where she learned it from, because her church didn't teach this to her. But she said that we lived with God before we were born. And we all lived with God before we were born. And nobody, I don't know where she got that from, but most of us today believe that.
Her parents.
And the other thing she taught us was that there was a devil, but he could never overpower you if you just held your head high and did the right thing. And we always believed that. She always taught us a lot of other things. But those two things I think were real significant. The other thing that's the bad thing that she did to us, this was really bad. She used to tell us really good stories, and she got us kind of hooked on these really nice stories. Peter Rabbit, other stories like that. And then she'd wait until a few days went by and we'd come and ask her for a story. And she'd do a real neat trick to us. She'd say, I'll tell you a story, but you got to sing this song. And if you can sing the song without laughing, I'll tell you the story. And so we thought, that's no big deal. That's easy. We can do that. So we'd start singing, and then she'd look at us and twist her head around, and we could never get through the song without laughing. Don't you guys think that's bad? Isn't that mean?
Yes. A unique opportunity to live with my mom for a period of years where I didn't have any other siblings in the house because I was the youngest by far. And so I had a great...
Well, she was your teacher too.
I had a great chance. She was my teacher for several years, and no one sent me to the principal's office more than she did. But the years that we spent together, she took me to baseball games. I loved baseball. She watched football with me on TV. And she had no interest in those things, but she always made me believe that she was really interested in it because she knew that I was. And I always felt my whole life that there was nothing else she could do. Because she put so much faith in me. And I don't know why I told you that. This isn't sad. But you know, we drove back from Texas. We lived in Texas for a year. And
Just the two of you.
just the two of us, and we're pulling a
How
U-Haul
old were you?
trailer,
How old
and
were
I
you?
was 12 years old, and she had me sharing the driving duties I was 12.
Painted a mustache on.
She did, and he sat up straight at cop car.
Yeah, because mom, she couldn't do the whole trip by herself, and so I had to do some of the driving on the freeway with the whole U-Haul trailer when I was 12.
At 12.
So, needless to say, she always had faith in me and knew that I could do whatever I wanted to do.
Eric, I asked you once, how does mom, she's so fragile and delicate and small, how does she handle a big football player in class that's disobeying? And you told me once that they didn't have a chance or something. She knew how to melt them or something.
Well, no, mom was always a disciplinarian in class, so you could never talk back to her. You always knew to respect the teacher, and nobody could ever get away with talking rudely to her. So I love my mom.
The word grandmother, grandma, is something very special to us because we are all very excited to be together. And I think the heritage that you have left us is wonderful. We enjoy it. And we're proud to be part of your family. You're an inspiration to us. I think that each of us feel very loved by you whenever we interact. As our grandmother.
So good.
We love you.
Vivian had been single a little while, and we had started dating, I think the second week that we were dating. She invited me over to dinner with her family, and she at that time she was living at her mom's at that time. And so we went over and sat down, and as most people in the room know, I don't eat a lot of vegetables. Olga made sure my plate was full of vegetables. I choked them down. Yeah, but she sat down next to me and we're sitting there and I'm thinking, oh great. She turns to me and she goes, so, you have a job? Kind of accusing me of cheating. And I looked down and here in the sleeve was an ace sitting in her sleeve. And that is true.
It was accidental.
But we appreciate you and love you.
Hey, Bob,
Helen.
didn't you tell me that we should play for the vegetables?